Jonathan, Michael, and AJ. One of the buzziest bands in Austin, in North America, I should say. And friends of our show, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. So, when we got a confirmation that we were going to talk to you again, my first thought was with you, AJ. And we talked a little bit about this off camera because I have to ask you about the Bengals. Start this slow, man, because I think America was rooting for your team, and you were wearing the gear and everything, man.
We all bought gear. We all put on the Joe Burrow glasses.
Yeah.
Went, in the thick of it. But I was telling these guys that the Bengals and us, it's like a parallel story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're on our way to the Super Bowl of music. I don't know what that is yet. But no, it was fun. It was fun. We had a bunch of fun. We went to a bar in Washington D.C. to watch the Super Bowl because it was our first day of tour, so we couldn't be at home. But it was fun.
I love it, man. And Flint, we were chatting. You've been with the band a little bit over a year. How does it feel to be, a year is not a lot in the grand scheme of things, and you guys are one of the hardest bands in Austin. Bunch of shows, showcase tomorrow in the busiest day. What a whirlwind, right?
Yeah, everything's happening so fast. It was wild even saying that it was already been a year, but we've come a long way in that.
It feels like it's been a lot. It feels like it's been a lot longer than a year.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. In a good way.
In a good way.
In a good way.
I feel like I've known you for a lot longer than that time.
Absolutely. Michael, let me ask you about Gardens.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously Wildfire, everybody loved it, wonderful EP. But I love the pivot of going to this album. That is your core essence of how you started before. Just it was it's all your passion basically of the band, right?
Yeah, it was probably 5+ years of songwriting that was in that record. So it was kind of this is us showing the world who we are as people and as musicians, and there was a lot of time and effort and thought that went into that album.
Absolutely. And AJ, there's a great documentary about the making of that album, a little short film. What was your why when you were recording that, when you had no manager, no label, it was just pure passion. What was your engine,
I don't know, but we were all just taking everything so seriously.
Yeah.
And it was kind of fun. It's funny to look back on, but we all just, I don't know. We had friends that were spending their money on normal things that mid-20s people spend their money on, and we were just man, we got to save up. We got to get into a recording studio.
Yeah.
You mentioned that we didn't have any sort of manager or record label, and we didn't, but it felt like it did. We kind of put that pressure on ourselves, and it's what Mike said. It was it was just us at that moment, and so we didn't know. We never knew if Gardens was going to really come out or not, and over the past couple of years, found a plan to do it, and just happy that it's out.
It's beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. And Jonathan, let me ask you about the urgency of that album, because it was recorded and released in 2 years. It was super quick. Mm-hmm. And it sounds so great and so rich, and it got me thinking, I'll give you an example. I'm a big U2 fan, and they take sometimes 4 or 5 years to record an album, and people complain about that. And when I was listening to Gardens, I was thinking, man, when you put yourself a time frame, like a limit, it's almost creatively could be good, right? Because Gardens is so beautiful and pure.
I think that's what I loved about Gardens was it was 10 days, so it was it wasn't a ton of time. It was more time than we had for and before that. But
yeah.
It felt we were on a mission, and whatever happened kind of serendipitously and spontaneously we were gonna roll with. And so I feel a lot of just magical and surprising things happened on that record that we didn't expect, and I'm glad we kind of were contained in the confines of the limitations of time to make that happen.
Totally. And Michael, let me ask you about the musical influences that influence this project. You have a great playlist on Spotify. It has John Prine in there, it has Bob Dylan, it has the Black Keys. Mm-hmm. It speaks of the range that you guys are influenced by. Share with us a little bit about the music that has shaped the Heavy Hours, if you will.
Yeah, it's a pretty broad spectrum. I think that's what kind of makes it fun and interesting to write songs all together, is that we all bring a unique background, and we all listen to pretty different stuff in our childhoods. But now that we were writing this album, we all kind of had very similar sounds or albums or artists that were like a funny joke. We would always not a joke, but we would always say like, we want our album to sound exactly like this, and we would like, and there would be different bands that we would pick from and try to make our stuff sound like that. But we weren't good enough or to actually copy it directly. But those bands were like Delta Spirit and J. Roddy Walston are a couple ones that we really rallied around. But we also like all bonded over just like Kings of Leon records and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but
it's like we were trying to do that thing where you go to a paint night and you've got the Van Gogh and you try to copy it and it didn't turn out like it at all. But then somebody was like, I actually like that.
Hey, listen, you shoot for the moon, you may get somewhere for sure.
Exactly.
For sure. And AJ, let me ask you, thank you for your time. I know you guys are super busy. Let me ask you about the past 2 years. Because we're in March 2022 now. 2 years ago, obviously, like the world changed, but I'm so like, it's almost like awesome that you guys are here, kicking ass, not only still standing, but standing stronger than ever. And can you just talk with us a little bit about like how you've, as a person and as a band, like the past 2 years, just like evolved, man, and thrived?
It's crazy. I feel like I could write a book about what everybody's life individually looked like the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Just because, getting signed and getting ready to launch a band, and then the pandemic hitting, it's hard not to view everything sort of like as a narrative or a story.
Yeah.
And so I feel like for the past 2 years we've been in, like our origin story mode. I keep thinking that this is all right. Here's the humble beginning. This is our hurdle we have to jump over. But as you said earlier, it feels like something we're breaking free from some weight, and we're able to walk and run again and play shows out in public. And so I don't know, I probably feel the same as these guys, just a bunch of anticipation, and we're finally just getting out.
I love it.
And doing it.
I love it. Well, guys, you guys have said it all. But Michael, just wanted to thank you because you guys have captained the ship of the rock and roll and good values, good Midwestern values can like thrive together. And I appreciate that because that's the best part of America with some kick-ass rock and roll. That's a pretty badass mix, guys. So thank you, man.
We appreciate that. Thank you so
I
much.
think that's what you guys stand for. Thank you guys so much.